you, Dr. Williams. And we're going to do a brief introduction, so we remember.
Okay.
Name and occupation. Just for you to get to know who the audience.
Okay.
And then we will start with your
Right. Sounds good.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Oportunidades. I come from Universidad Metropolitana. I am professor about electrical engineering. Thank you.
I'm Giselle Galvan. I'm director of scientific research on space of the Mexican Space Agency. Thank you very much.
Servando Gutiérrez, de la Universidad Autónoma Metropolitana, Programa Transdisciplinario de Estudios y Desarrollos Aeroespaciales.
Hi, my name is Francisco Romero from Mexican Space Agency on the Business Development Department.
Hello, my name is Javier Roch. I'm a General Coordinator for Business Development and Competitiveness.
Mario Arreola, Mexican Space Agency, Public Outreach and Civil Education.
Good day, my name is Ricardo Arturo Vázquez Romero, and I'm here from the Space Medicine and Cyber Health Manager of the Mexican Space Agency.
Great.
Mendoza, Assistant Researcher at UAM Iztapalapa Physics Department.
I'm Carlos Duarte, and the Head of Education of the Mexican Space Agency.
Javier Muñoz, Coordinator for Research in the Space Agency.
My name is Enrique Rodriguez de la Colina. I'm working in the Universidad Autónoma Metropolitana. Actually, I am the coordinator of the post-survey studies.
My name is Armando Chavez. I am professor at the University Autónoma Metropolitana. I work in biomedical and biological process and electrical engineering.
Okay.
Hi, nice to meet you. Blanca Rebollar, Space Education Director of Mexican Space Agency.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you, everyone.
Armando Angulo, I work here at the Mexican Space Agency, graphic designer. I'm in charge of your transmission.
Yes.
Welcome.
And I should introduce myself. My name's Jamie Williams. I'm a postdoctoral research associate at the University of Leicester in the Space Research Centre. And intention for this talk is just to give a brief outline of where Leicester is, and because we're a fairly small city, what we do and what opportunities are out there as we speak for funding between Mexico and the United Kingdom. Okay. And I do apologise, I do have a bit of a cough, which I'm hoping will clear because it's 20 degrees warmer here than it is in England at the moment. So, fingers crossed. Okay, so yeah, that's what I'm going to talk about today. So just what we do in Leicester as a whole, and then what the physics department does, what the group that I work in does, what I'm interested in myself, and then the various different funding opportunities, and then we can go on to a bit of a discussion about how the various institutions here could potentially work together. Okay. But what I will do to start with is just give a brief outline of where Leicester is. So this is the flight I took. I took off from here at 4:30 p.m. Mexican time yesterday. I landed here 7 hours ago. So I'm a bit jet lagged. For me at the moment, it's about 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Tea time.
Exactly. Okay. So Leicester's here. I've just accidentally blanked out with the arrow. So we're here in the Midlands of England, London down here. I actually live up here in Manchester. So yesterday I went straight down to London and flew back from Heathrow. Okay. So if you don't know very much about Leicester, and I don't blame you if you don't, this is the first picture I always show because that somehow happened 2 or 3 years ago now. Big celebrations, won the Premier League title, not been repeated since, unfortunately. But other things we did, we treat our monarchs nicely. This is actually my distant cousin. King Richard III, he lost a battle and then was buried in a car park. It was dug up by archaeologists at the University of Leicester about 5 years ago. We also developed genetic fingerprinting. This is Sir Alec Jeffreys. And yeah, this was developed in Leicester in the 80s and has been used ever since around the world since then. But we do put things in space as well. We're not just, we do things for the Space Research Centre. So this was Beagle 2, which unfortunately didn't have a successful conclusion to its trip to Mars 13 years ago, although it did land, it didn't open properly. We do put other things in space there. So this is XMM Newton. This went up in about 2000, still sending back data to this day. And we're developing new stuff. So this is JWST. This is the MIRI instrument, the mid-infrared imaging instrument for JWST, which is due to go up, I think, in 2 or 3 years' time. And this is the mixed spectrometer for Bepi Colombo, which is now on its way to Mercury. We actually have a flight spare that's in one of the clean rooms in Leicester. And this is the future. So in about 3 or 4 years' time, we will be moving campus to a brand new, what's called Space Park Leicester. This is an interface between teaching and research, and also in industry. And what's going to be on site eventually will be some form of low-cost access to space centre, where it will be you'll be able to. They will specialise in manufacturing and testing satellites, which at the moment there's not very many facilities to do that in the UK. All the information I can give anyone who's interested in information about Space Park Leicester, relevant URLs later on. Okay. So, what do? We do a wide variety of things, covering from physics, which I'll talk about in a minute. We have specialities in mechanical and electrical engineering. We do modelling of material sciences and also manufacturing them as well. Data mining in mathematics. We do software development, big data, and machine learning within informatics. Chemistry, we do battery chemistry, ionic solvents. Earth observation, this is obviously where this came from. This is Leicester City Centre. So this is, the main shopping centres here, train stations down here. So we have the National Centre for Earth Observation based in Leicester, and so we have a lot of research going into Earth observation. We have gas analysis and air quality analysis based in Leicester and around the world as well. So we have collaborations with African institutions, but we also develop instruments that can achieve this. So there is an instrument called GHOST, which has been developed in Leicester, working with various different other institutions. It's mounted onto the bottom of a plane and can be flown around wherever. This has been tested on a NASA aircraft, but also it's been flown on the bottom of a small Cessna plane as well. Within life sciences, as I mentioned, we developed DNA fingerprinting, but we're doing a lot more at the moment for developing treatments and cures for various different illnesses, and we have a new cancer facility in Leicester as well. Archaeology, as I mentioned, we found my cousin, King Richard, and in museum studies, we're one of the lead institutions in the UK for this as well. So we do, and there's more beyond this as well, but we do a very wide range of topics. So in physics, physics and astronomy department, which I come from, is mainly split into two main areas. We've got one which is in astrophysics, which covers X-ray observational astronomy, theoretical astrophysics, and radio and space plasma physics. The radio space plasma physics is probably one of the highest ranked, highest rated ones in the UK. We take a lot of data in from a variety of missions working, especially in X-ray and observational astronomy. So I have friends who are working on, or have worked on, XMM data, to the next generation telescope, a transient survey, NGTS, Swift. I've got a whole list of them down at the bottom where we've actually got some international involvement, and there's more besides that. The Space Research Centre, which is the group that I'm working in, covers not only space research, but the translation of that research into medical technologies as well, and other aspects of industry. So we cover everything from space engineering and instrumentation to high-speed imaging and medical imaging as well. So one example of that I'll show you, in fact I'll show you next slide. We've got very high-performance computing facilities. So this was the data, these were the figures last year. I haven't updated these. But we've got 183 teraflops, 21 terabytes of total memory, and 4,760 2.4 gigahertz CPUs. So we've got quite a powerful facility there. And the Dirac facility is actually part of a nationwide collaboration as well for high-performance computing. So what do we do? These slides were actually given to me by our the head of our group in the Space Research Centre. So we cover all of these things and more. So developing MCP X-ray optics, photon detectors. That's mainly where I'm involved, and fast, high-time resolution photon detection. Instrument engineering, I've given you some examples of JWST MIRI, for instance, and the dynamic spectrometer. And we have involvement in space nuclear power and high-end electronics as well. So space nuclear power is an international collaboration to build an RTG engine, mainly working with the Americans, I believe. Okay, so this is a bit more about what we're doing in slightly more depth. So this is mixed. This is in our clean room. It was made here. I still take people on our tours and go and point out, go and see that cone at the bottom. That's what mix is. We're developing some of the optics for SPOM. So that's due to go up middle of the next decade, I believe. This is the gamma camera. So when I say about medical imaging, this is they're actually developing a hybrid gamma camera now as well. So this will be able to image in the infrared and the gamma to be able to overlay during radio. Free hour sleep does this to you. Being able to overlay images from during radioisotope treatments. So that's in development at the moment, and I think is due to be used or implemented in medical treatments a bit more widely in the next few years. And this, I'll explain a little bit more. This is called the check camera. I'm involved in the development of this. This is a high-speed optical photo detector for detecting gamma-ray photons instant on Earth. This is going to be part of the international collaboration. Well, it's one of the candidates to be part of the international collaboration, the Cherenkov Telescope Array, which will be being built in Chile in the next 10 years or so. So that's using, we're developing the high-speed electronics there and detector characterization. And we have a lot of input into teaching as well. So we've got this space exploration systems course, and there will be others coming up soon as well. Okay. So, working our group. So I've already explained what this is. So this is the Tranquil telescope array candidate camera that we're building. So we're developing a wide variety of detector technologies and fast electronics, from everything from particle physics, we have an involvement with CERN, through to high-speed photo detection. In my PhD research in graphene, which I'll talk about in a second, through to gamma rays and many more besides that. So yeah, we're developing helping characterize the detectors, and one of my PhD students is working on this in Leicester as we speak. We're developing the electronics, so we work with industry and our collaborators in Germany to fabricate and iterate to get the electronics as good as it can be. And I'm responsible for the data analysis on this aspect of it, to try to identify any issues. My PhD research, though, was on graphene-based detectors and sensors. I started work on, in fact that's in the next slide, so I'll tell you about that in a second. We are investigating time-resolved Raman spectroscopy. So the fast photodetectors and electronics that we've got will allow us to discriminate between different photo signals from Raman and from fluorescence, so we can use that to identify what the material is. And we're using this to develop technologies for multi-pixel arrays as well. And this technology down at the bottom is called broadband. Can we just go to the please? Yeah, so this technology down at the bottom is called broadband enhanced cavity absorption spectroscopy, and it can be used to determine a concentration of gas in a certain area as well. So there's a whole variety of bits that we work on. Okay. So there's new areas that we're looking at going into as well. So software-defined radio, this is a means of picking up radio signals from without having to have the hardware that's currently required. So you can do this essentially on a USB dongle with a small antenna. At the moment, we're working to develop this as an educational tool, but there are a wide variety of applications, and I know some people are actually applying it to what we're talking about now, which is CubeSats, doing experiments for transmitting and receiving data. So we're interested in how we can incorporate our technologies into potentially into a CubeSat. One possibility would be a single photon counting detector for CubeSats, potentially a silicon photon multiplier, which we're aware of, no one has successfully done. And there are opportunities to do this through Space Park coming up in the next 4 or 5 years, primarily because of the low-cost access to space facility that's going to be fabricated, that's going to be made. Okay. So where's my interest? So honing down, so we've gone from university to department to my group, to our group, and to me. So I cover a wide range of novel electronics, materials, and technologies. So I'll actually start on the second point with this. This is, in fact, I've got it on me. Bear with me a second. Actually, I'll show you it at the end. I do have the detector on me. This is a terahertz detector. This is something that I designed and tested and showed it to work. We can pick up terahertz signals around 0.7 to 1.2 terahertz. The idea was to do this as a passive detector. These antennae I designed. I call beetles.
What's the actual size? What's the actual size of the antenna?
So the antenna itself, that's 150 micron. That channel is about 10 micron. So my PhD research was not just in terahertz. We worked with the European Space Agency, and to generate an X-ray detector and a terahertz detector, and this built upon what we were then originally working on, which was a single photon counting cryogenic detector as well. with the intention that that would operate at higher temperatures. So the speed, so we're trying to exploit the speed, sensitivity, and simplicity that graphene can potentially give for a wide range of applications, not just in photo detection, but actually out as far as protein sensing as well. So I'm also doing data analysis for, and I've generated this model called the normally distributed crosstalk model, which is, describes the properties of the optical crosstalk behavior in silicon photomultipliers, just to improve that, and also evaluating the performance for the check camera. We are looking at quantum optics, so we're trying to characterize the multi-pixel arrays using nonlinear crystals, so it's actually a beta barium borate crystal. And I'm hoping if there's a talk, if I do a talk, not sure where it'll be at the moment, but I'll be able to talk briefly about this later this week. There will be a talk that I'm giving in Austria in a few weeks, so there'll be a paper coming out about it after that. And as I say, we've got this software-defined radio educational tool as well. So what that's going to be, it will essentially be a tablet. It will be slightly bigger than a phone, so it'll be about that big, with a Raspberry Pi at the back, incorporating various different, there'll be an incorporated antenna, battery, etc. So this will be able to go out into schools anywhere for various different purposes in physics, maths, geography, and other subjects as well. Okay. And my other interests where I'm looking at going over new ideas that are coming up include something that I need to put in for a fellowship in the next few days, which is the idea of a conductive skin using graphene, potentially for prosthetics, and also just applications in everyday life. That's quite a broad statement, but just I like looking for new ideas, and potentially the development of small, cheap satellites. Again, building on what possibilities come out of the space park. Okay. So I will get all of these details circulated around, so you don't feel you need to copy down any of the URLs. If that's whetted your appetite for working with any UK institution, Leicester, then these are a few of the opportunities that I've found online in the last few days. A few of these are specifically UK-Mexico funding. Some are any country. So the first one is a Newton Mobility. It's called Newton Mobility Grant. Closing deadline is just over a month's time. That's the equivalent of the funding round that got me to Mexico today. This provides any member of staff, from a research organisation. I'm sure the Mexican Space Agency would be counted among that. A few £1,000s to travel to another country for collaboration building. So essentially, that's what I did. That's how I did today. Not through Rock Society, but that was through an internal round. International exchange is the same thing, just a different funding pot. That one, I think, the Newton Mobility Grant is, I think, for Mexico. It's for Mexico, Brazil, China, India, and a few others. The Newton International Fellowship is a 2-year postdoc funding stage, £24,000 salary, £8,000 research, £2,000 relocation costs. That deadline is the 27th of March. I'll set that out. And that can be for any area of interest, so long as there's a host institution in the UK that would be willing to go ahead with it. So that if there was one here that if someone wants to work with Leicester, we'd have to find something where the research interests overlapped. Okay. So, League of Human Trust, they have a visiting professorships. opportunities out at the moment. Deadline is early May. This is for any UK institution to invite an eminent researcher from overseas, potentially worth anywhere up to £150,000. Again, that would have to be somewhere where research interests overlap. And then the Global Challenges Research Fund. This is a £1.5 billion pot of money that was put forward by the UK government in 2015 to address a series of challenges: equitable access to sustainable development, sustainable economies and societies, human rights, good governance, and social justice. These rounds come around all the time. We went in for one with an Ethiopian group in September of last year, which we're waiting to hear back from. And that one covered education and training. But so long as it addresses one of these, and I'll go on to it in the next slide, then there's a possibility of a project. And there's other funding routes as well. There's the CNASIT, something called the Prosperity Fund, which again is British government funded, and the Institute of Physics in the UK has outreach funding as well. So there's different opportunities. Okay. So the Global Challenges Research Fund, just a little bit more into this. As I say, there are regular calls. The next one will probably open in June of this year and will, for submission, probably in September. So equitable access to sustainable development, so food systems, marine resource, health and well-being, clean air, water, sanitation, sustainable energy, quality education. So that's kind of the one we went in on when we're working with the Ethiopian group. Sustainable economies and societies, cities and communities, production, consumption of materials, growth, innovation, human rights. Some of these are more appropriate to our areas of work than others. So yeah, there's a whole range that can be addressed, and some are completely open, some are quite targeted at a specific topic. Okay. So how can we work together? So I've said there are various different funding routes, and these funding rounds are updated regularly. There's opportunities for PhD and postdoc work exchange on different projects, depending on what the opportunities were. Potential for engineer internships to be in Mexico and in the United Kingdom. And coming out of this today, I've got members of staff in Leicester who are willing to have video conferences to discuss any opportunities going forward. So I'm the messenger, essentially. I'll be able to put you into contact with the right people, and hopefully we can get somewhere. Okay, so what I was hoping to do now, that's kind of gone through what I wanted to say, is just have a bit of a discussion. What work goes on here, what work could be coming up here in the future, and how could Leicester and the organisations here today work together in the future and potentially utilise some of this funding around. So I don't know how we want to start. Does anyone have any immediate ideas?
Could you explain a little bit the Space Center in Leicester?
Yeah.
What they do, how they work?
So the Space Research Centre, it's got a bit of a complex history, but we work with...
It's not part of the university?
It is part of the university, so we are a research group, but we're also called the Research Centre at the same time. I'm in the physics department, so among the physics department there are then 5 groups. The Space Research Centre is one of them.
Faculty.
Yeah. So yeah, we work with other areas of the physics department, other areas of the university. So at the moment, the fellowship application I mentioned, that's going to be working with some people in life sciences. So we have quite a lot of translation from space technology through to medical technology. We have a lot of links with space agencies around the world. So we do work for European Space Agency. I did some during my PhD. We have built things for NASA, JAXA, the Indian Space Agency, I think the Israelis. I can't remember, we've got quite a few. So we have links with them, and sometimes that will be, there's different ways in which that will be arranged, that work. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Would like to participate.
Okay.
It's quite interesting, the part of SDRs.
Mm-hmm.
We have some experience with programming SDRs for cognitive radio networks.
Yeah.
So it could be a good collaboration to start with some students who interchange for some master degree students and undergrad students to go there and maybe to teach some of the experiences that we have with colleagues with SDRs, and we can collaborate with the team that is working on that topic to get some algorithms for new improvements to community radio, etc. Because we want to apply the community radio for satellite communications also.
Oh, right. Okay.
So it's the next step was.
I'm just going to take notes of what we talk about, so I can relay it back to the relevant people. Okay. Yeah, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, on the same side, from the point of view of education of the Mexican Space Agency, we're also interested in SDR development.
Okay.
Particularly, we would like to develop, let's say, an educational platform to teach GNSS, like GPS. To see the internals, not just see the GNSS as a black box. So we have, let's say, like a platform for education. Students can understand what goes inside a GNSS.
Excellent.
Chip. So we're very interested in develop.
Great.
Also, another interest from the point of view of education is Earth observation tools that you might have. Dr. Amanda Gomez, she is teaching courses on Earth observation using different platforms. And using images and radar images. But we want to go to a next step where we would like to apply machine learning algorithms to classify satellite images. So that's a topic that we could discuss.
It might be one where I have to put you in contact with someone who knows is a bit more involved in the machine learning aspect. So that's definitely something that we as a group are looking at working towards. But I know in informatics that's definitely an area for them. That sounds great. Excellent.
And also, a question: are you involved in the GeoCar project?
In the what? Sorry.
GeoCar.
I've never heard of that one, I'm afraid.
It's a satellite, proposed satellite by NASA.
Okay.
Study the greenhouse gases.
Okay.
It's going to be Dr. Munoz knows a lot about this project. In Mexico, Dr. Munoz is proposing to have a station, calibration station in Mexico for this satellite.
Oh, right.
It's being proposed by NASA.
Yeah.
It's a geostationary satellite.
There are some European initiatives. Usually they want to observe the carbon column from a geostationary satellite.
Okay.
We are involved because of the proximity. with the American project.
Yeah.
But we know Europeans are also doing significant, and there is a global network.
Okay.
We will have a presentation site here soon.
In Mexico City?
North Mexico City.
Okay.
That's a county 400 kilometers.
Right.
And we will be open collaboration with several universities worldwide.
Okay. I'll have a look at that one, and it's possible that it's on its early stages and I'm not yet aware of.
You mentioned also the Newton Fund. We are working with them. They are supporting the conversion of former telecommunication antennas, very big dishes. They will use for communication, but they will be converted for astronomical use.
Okay.
Yes. There is a big distribution from this probably the new ambassador in Mexico will be visiting the site.
Yeah.
Her father was a former astronomer. She's very interested in it.
Yeah.
But probably Carlos already mentioned, we have several centers, many relationships with many universities. One thing we are interested is in developing innovative satellite payloads.
Okay.
Yes. And the proposal is, let's say the university, the Mexican university, find this Mexican support for development, but as part of an agreement, let the British universities put the work, the resources, whatever source they have.
Yeah.
And that may be also difficult. Yes. And let me to play the launching.
Okay.
So we don't have to have satellites in the lockers or in the bookshelves, but we want them flying.
Yeah.
Yes. So perhaps we can have a workshop trying to define new payloads that are sensible.
Yeah.
Maybe also for moon missions.
Okay.
Or just layers of solid.
Yeah. So,
but we don't want to do the same as everybody is doing. Everybody is observing the same thing again and again and again. Yes?
Yeah.
What can be done? You have a very good diversity group, so we believe that we can find ideas that can be done.
Yeah.
We have a center, a developing center in Zacatecas, Estado de México. We have plans for San Luis Potosí. In San Luis Potosí, we are also interested in terahertz.
Yeah.
We have a lab there, university. We will be interested in knowing what we are doing. We want to bias the research to telecommunications in space.
Yeah.
Just because ground level technology is heavy. But perhaps in this space we can have the option of alternatives.
Yeah, that sounds good. So yeah, I know for you mentioned about the launch capabilities. There is due to be a new launch centre in the UK government is building a launch pad for small satellites from Scotland.
Launching is very costly for us and even for you.
Yeah.
Yes. That's why we believe we have the support of a foundation that's needed. Yes, so that the university work can be placed in this case of beyond, I mean, moon missions.
Yes.
We presented probably 1 year ago, that to the Newton Fund. It was another ambassador who was here. Probably Newton Fund doesn't report directly to the ambassador, but it was quite an influence.
I imagine there's some, especially if it's projects directly targeted at a specific country.
And we will be eager to explore what can be done. There are many areas that we work with them in Mexico. For example, you mentioned solar radio. You mentioned interest in solar radio. We have solar radio in San Luis Potosí. The ideas are Zacatecas. But what on solar radio can be done? Yes, we need to be more specific, no just ideas, but define a specific project.
Yes, okay.
That's why we believe that. Let's define satellite missions and let's convince the Newton Fund or other people to support the large.
Yeah.
It will be difficult for us to find support for launching from American ground a European initiative.
Yeah.
But perhaps if we work with you, we connect something from.
Yeah, so there's new capabilities that are being put forward to improve prospects of getting into space, to reduce the costs. So there's one in Scotland which will go into polar orbit, which I think is due to be built within the next 5 years or so. That decision was made probably last year of where it was going to be located. And then there are other industrial contacts that the university has that may be able to facilitate launch as part of a wider group of CubeSats. So there might be ways to reduce the cost. I have to go and talk to people.
In the case of the Yocar project, Carlos mentioned, the launch will be done by NASA.
Yes.
The payload is being developed by Lockheed Martin and the University of Oklahoma, and we are participating also ourselves.
Yes.
And at this moment, a delegation that's for the single thing. A delegation is coming from Oxford University to the Scottish Astronomy project. So perhaps we can define, let's do this workshop just to define new payloads that are suitable.
Yeah.
And perhaps the best person to organize this sort of things, maybe Carlos. We can invite the universities, you can invite Leicester University, and try to figure out what we can propose to submit a complete proposal to Newton Fund and the European. I don't know what is the current situation because of the Brexit. Yes, if you can, it should be just a British launcher or to be a European. We are quite open.
Yeah, I think it's so open, so volatile, I guess, on that situation at the moment.
But let's not be involved in those political issues. Just try to get a program.
Yeah. But the workshop idea, I agree, it's opportunity there.
Newton Fund and the British Embassy every year organize workshops. They support the travel of the British parents.
Okay.
Yes. and we manage somehow just to put the Mexican things together. But if we can think on missions, yes, because in some projects people start by building the satellite, regardless of the mission. Yes.
Oh wow.
Yes, yes, and we believe the important thing is to have sensible missions.
Yeah.
Well, just an idea. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it depends on what fits within the funding rules of each call. I can't just make one and then go and see what. Yeah, but I agree. Workshop, and there may be possibilities that there'll be a workshop in the UK soon. I'd have to confirm that and circulate details to whoever may be interested, but that may be coming up.
There is no doubt that you are well ahead of us. So it will be very useful if the British can travel to Mexico. That will have a multiplicative effect.
Yeah.
Yes. Also, teleconference is feasible.
Yeah.
But this is not the same. Yes.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, teleconference will be the first step on any workshop. Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll feed that back to the relevant people in the group and see what we can arrange.
When we will be always be happy working with the university.
Excellent.
Yes.
Yeah, great.
Yes. And it's interesting to know if your space center is just a research center or is another kind of activities within the industry and innovation and so on.
We work closely with industry as well. We do a lot of contractual work for industry. I'm partially funded on that at the moment, and I think it's mainly UK industry at the moment.
It's only they have also access to innovation or to, how do you say, acceleration or so on in your center, the industry or the startups or so on.
The startups, that's part of the Space Park Leicester ethos, is to bring education, research and academia and industry all together, have a startup accelerator and have and incubate new ideas in one place.
Yes, because in our center we have thought that it could be great if we could develop some process like that. But we have to be open to external universities or industry to develop, to accelerate the development.
Yeah.
It will be very interesting to know the process and how do you get funds for those activities, or how do you work with the industry in that cases or with the startups.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you have some scheme like catapult or so on.
We don't have a specific catapult, but there is a catapult covering the space technologies covering the entire country.
Okay.
I think it's called. Bear with me a second, just so I don't tell you something that's incorrect. I think it might just be the satellite catapult. Yeah, satellite catapult. It's based. It's another institution. It's not related to Leicester.
You work separately.
Yeah. But there's always opportunities for collaboration. There's potential for it.
I would like to know the process and work with that. And also, we are quite interested in your mission analysis develop capabilities, because we are trying to develop some missions, some constellations missions for air observation and for other objectives, and there will be an opportunity to collaborate in that.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah, so I'll have to see what we can do about that mission analysis. Someone will do it somewhere. At least I'll think about who it is. But yeah, that's great, thank you.
Okay. Some of you.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, as a business development director, I'm represent some companies here in Mexico, innovative space startup companies that want to introduce his platforms. For example, I'm not sure if you are familiar with NanoVet. We have a company here in Mexico that has a NanoVet platform. So we would like to use this platform in order to create innovative payloads for nanosats, CubeSats, and also we are very interested in the SDR tablets as a tool to develop new products here in Mexico as a part of the industry. In another hand, we are in charge of the rocket development model and simulation laboratory. We have a small group of students that are trying to think or to build new missions using rockets for small payloads in the LEO orbit. And we would like to collaborate, if it's possible, with you in order to know or to build a mission with a small rocket with green propellants. Because the last year we studied all the issues about the traditional propellants, and definitely we discovered that we need to go using green propellants. And I know that the UK is trying to install a spaceport using this type of propellants, and we would like to share all the things that we have done last year and try to use green propellants and new composite materials for these small rockets.
Excellent.
And also we have some companies here in Mexico that are trying to work in this path. So we are very interested to connect, link these startups with this effort that you are inviting us today.
Excellent. That green propellant sounds really good. Guess that might be someone in chemistry that I have to speak to on that one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that chemistry area in your university, it will be very interested to work on that path.
Brilliant. I'll make some links and see what I can do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Of our new centers, we'll be working on the electric programs. So there is also an opportunity there. Besides the chemistry. So that's a complementary. We noticed that some of the deadlines are already gone. But never mind. What we need to is to identify what sort of projects are in a particular slot. And we can plan, even if the date has passed, we can develop a program. The important thing is to have a running program. We are interested not just in one project, but in a sequence that define a line. That's the way we're going to work.
That sounds really good. I agree. It's not just doing this, but doing this right into the future. That sounds great.
I work in antennas, and I'm interested in array antennas. I think that the calculus and some development about the simulations is by some build some antennas or some array antennas about the materials. It's so difficult to manufacture in that, and then maybe we can support about you with the experience and with the materials.
Okay. So that's the antenna that I showed on there. That was manufactured when I was on secondment at the University of Cambridge. But we're just opening up something I didn't actually put in this. I should have done. We've just got. There'll be a new high-tech manufacturing facility that will be opening in Leicester sometime next year, or sometime later this year, in fact, I think. So that would be doable in Leicester. So yeah, that sounds good. I'll people running the facility would like to hear about that one. Yeah. Great.
I would like to mention some three main projects that we have as a proposal for collaboration.
Yeah.
The first one is about the SDRs.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a project with a big group of artificial intelligence. We are part of that group. We won for the Mexican city. For Mexico City, we won a project about SDRs also. So I'm thinking about the proposal of Dr. Munoz about the application, particular application. This application is for security and for civil protection in case of earthquakes or disasters. And using the SDR as a main platform, but also we want to mix this opportunity to analysis that data analysis from satellite downlinks.
Okay.
The second project is a more amateur project with California. We are working to build a group for building moon-bound applications.
Okay.
So in moon-bound we can apply a lot of algorithms for signal processing and to obtain data from main dishes as to the single dishes that are quite big. So maybe in UK you have the opportunity to use some big dishes and we can send the signal from Mexico and to moon-bound signal and downlink in UK. It could be a good option also. And the opportunity to build new antennas as Professor Tom and I just said. The third one that is talking about the social and humanitarian opportunities, as you mentioned in the presentation. This is about indigenous groups in the country. So there are autonomous communities of indigenous from different cultures, and we are working on the inclusion of data networks for those communities. And now there is a new project about with satellite signal with a very low cost equipment to do the downlink for that communities, because they don't have internet, they don't have easy access because the land is quite difficult the landscape. So there is a good opportunity to collaborate in that case for mobile cells of data for voice and for data also in that communities. We are working with several groups in Oaxaca and different locations of the country, and with ONG organization that is involved with the government to build this infrastructure for those communities that don't have access. So we have planned to participate through the IEEE humanitarian track. And it would be nice if we have the support of the university for the design of this project and for the opportunities that we have to offer
Yeah.
these communities.
That sounds really interesting because there's an obvious theme across what we're all talking about. So there's potential ways to link all of them together.
Yes.
Which sounds really good. And that the humanitarian aspect that would clearly come within, in my interpretation of it anyway, the global challenges funding opportunity.
Actually, there is an invitation next Saturday. We have a meeting with this one of the organizations for this humanitarian corporations that are helping in these communities. In particular, this is a company which introduces mobile phones in those communities as a part of the main telecom organizations.
Okay.
If you want to go, you are invited, and all of you, of course, next Saturday is a seminar.
Okay, that sounds really interesting.
Perhaps if we work in a workshop agenda, not now, but we can identify the lines we are willing and you're willing to collaborate.
Yeah.
So instead of having a very spread interest, we focus somehow and we define a direction we can pursue as a Mexican business community.
Yeah. I think there's lots of opportunities in making it cohesive and making it as effective as possible. Sounds like an excellent idea. Great. So I filled up my tiny diary.
I was just going to say, you mentioned to me that maybe John, your boss, or Nigel would be available to chat. Maybe not right now, but in the coming days, would they be sort of available just to have further talks if you're interested to speak with the both of Jamie and sort of make it more concrete?
Yeah.
If that chance is available, would it be possible?
Yeah, I think so, definitely. If we were looking for something the week of the 25th of February, would probably be for a teleconference between the UK and Mexico, sometime then or later. I think
the next step.
I think that would definitely be the next step. So what I'll ask is that anyone who's the details of the project, that I'll ask for email addresses if I haven't already got them, and I'll send a direct email later on. And I'll also ask those to send this around to everyone here today. If that sounds okay. Yeah, because I think there's lots of really good ideas there and lots of really good crossover between what we do and what everyone here does. Great. Does anyone else have any other ideas? It looks like you guys.
It's because I have a group of students that they are learning about CubeSats and systems.
Yeah.
We have already a camera, and also this infrared camera.
Okay.
And also we are developing some inertial wheels, but we are characterizing it. So maybe we can participate in the CubeSat development.
Yeah, I think so. I think that sounds really, really good. Bringing everything in like that would be, yeah, I agree. So, I know we're going to have a discussion a bit later, so I think maybe perhaps. Anyone else? Great. I think what I'll do then is I will find a piece of paper and
we're gonna
okay, great.
the list of the participants.
Yeah, brilliant.
So in a minute we're gonna have the list.
Great.
So everybody will his email and phone number.
Yeah, and I'll get emails sent around.
Right.
To try and make those relevant links.
Probably it's going to be a good idea if we summarize the idea that we expressed just a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Just to have a more concrete.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took some notes, so I'm gonna send notes to check.
Yeah, I will send my our ideas in order to include only one summary of this brainstorm, and we can see what happens.
Yeah, that sounds excellent. Great, that was I think a very fruitful discussion that we had.
I think that it will be useful to have a prime contact for this relationship.
Yeah.
And I believe that Carlos is willing to
Okay.
make that work.
Yeah, that sounds excellent. So I'll write down my email address.
Sure.
So we've got that sorted. Yeah, perfect.
Anyone else would like to add something to the discussion? Well, we will do it.
Thank you all for coming. So,
nada más por último, vamos a agradecer la conferencia y también agradecer a ustedes la hospitalidad por haber llevado a cabo la reunión aquí. Muchas
Esta
gracias.
es su casa, siempre estamos abiertos.
Vamos a pasar una lista que no la traje al principio para tener un registro de los participantes y así podamos comunicar. Muy bien, gracias.